This is a demo of the setup for Cartels of the Tetra-League. This probably is not going to be sold. I may zip it up in a file and put it on for download on the Space Gamer site. I set this up in Roll20 where I can create decks of cards. It's a deck of cards, a dice game. I'm going to play it 2 players and play both sides here. I'm going to play the Crime Lords versus the Sheik Cartel. So you have tokens for habitats, tokens for mines. That's how you make your money. Tin heads. Tin heads are nice because they help on defense if you get raided. They also help service your habitats. There are guard units which allow you to raid other people. And of course the all-important money. Now this game has gone through a number of iterations, so I'm going to have to refer to the rules. But the victory conditions are inside of this deck. And as you flip the deck, eventually you're going to flip a 1, 2, up to 4 different victory conditions. And they're usually a set number 6, either 6 mines, 6 habitats, 6 tin heads, or 6 guards. The first person to obtain that will win the game, depending upon which one of the victory conditions are flipped. You only have, I think, 82 cards in the deck. And if you get to the end and all 82 are gone, the game ends and the person with the most money is the winner. So if you play a stalling game, you can. Now what's nice about this is the fact that there's 10 different cartels. You could play it with probably up to 10 players, but it's better when you play with just a few players, because at any time, if your cartel has been really ruined, and the Crime Lords is a cartel in the game, if your cartel is really ruined in the game, you can swap it out for another cartel. Say I want to play the G-Sol instead. And as you're playing, certain actions that are done in the game are going to affect these NPC cartels as well. You'll see that as I demonstrate it. So I believe you start with 5 trillion, and then some people start with a little bit more. You notice these 2 traits, and 2 traits here, Ecochem and Indigent Caucus. There's 5 traits in the game. I'll pan over just a little bit. You can see pro-labor, caregivers, and I think the last one is pacifier. There are 5 different traits. Each cartel has 2 of those traits. And the traits, for the most part, they just do a small change to the game rules. But as you flip cards, and we'll demonstrate that in just a second, as you demonstrate the cards usually only specifically affect one of the different traits. And you may gain mines, lose mines, gain tin heads, lose tin heads, have some of your money. So I think we start with a habitat, and I'm going to look it up though. What do we start with? We start the game with setup. Each player gets a cartel, a trait habitat, and $5 trillion. Okay, I like that. Money is nice. And I'm going to just take this whole bundle here, and I'm going to put it over here. And as I said, you also are playing the NPCs are active in the game, so they too will start with the same amount. Now, the starting traits also have a little bit of a variance in who they are. Let's move this money back over to the Skymarians. You know, those war cartel people, they tend to grab things up. What happened to him? Did I double click on somebody else? Make sure I didn't. Okay. I'm not giving anyone any little extra money. So we'll go down the list here and we'll see what we have. We know about the 4 victory conditions. And we have the 10 cartels, each with 2 unique traits that they share with 3 other cartels. And the Sheik cartel starts without a habitat. Now that's both an advantage and a disadvantage in the game to start without a habitat. Habitats cost you money unless you have tin heads to support them. And we'll eventually get all that over there. And what else do I get? I get an extra 3 trillion and a tin head. So let me grab my tin head here. That'll help on defense. Also, if I buy a habitat, that'll help with that. And I'll get an extra 3 trillion. And then the Crime Lords, they start as well without a habitat, but they get a guard unit. And the Crime Lords also have tin heads, so they're a little bit better at protecting themselves from raids. The game is played in rounds, and each of the rounds has 5 phases. All the phases occur, so everyone will take their actions in Phase A, Phase B, Phase C before they move to the next phase of the game. And now we're over here. G-Sols start with one less trait, one less taint habitat, and they get a guard company. I steal all my guard companies. Let's bring some guard companies back here. And the G-Sol starts with the guard company, and the G-Sol also starts with an extra $3 trillion. Greedy, greedy. And the Galactic Vision, they will start with Sakai Mines, a guard company, and extra money. Do I still have some? Yeah, I do. Okay, so give me 1, 2, and 3. And Galactic Vision has a mine as well. And a guard company. That good starting resources from Galactic Vision. They don't have the tin heads yet, but they can buy that in the first turns, and that would give them a set of all 4 commodities, which is very good. It's very defensible, but it also then would mean that they would score money for their mine, and then their habitat won't immediately cost them money for their, but will as we get into play. Independence start with Sakai Mine, Guard Company, and Tin Head. Well, that's like a trifecta of everything, isn't it? Galactic Independence right here. I got these out of alphabetical order. So they start with a guard company and mines and tin heads. Let's grab that mine and tin heads. Got a big pile of all these things down here from playing it and testing it. It's almost there. I think it needs maybe one more iteration. Here it is, tin head. And we have the Journeyman Cartel. They start with mines, 1 less habitat, and more money. So they're another one who sort of forgoes the people. And more money, so we give 1, 2, 3 more money. And Journeymen start with Sakai Mines. Let's put a mine over there. Skymerians, the Skymerians start with mines, tin heads, and money. So mines, tin heads. I got a tin head somewhere. Here he is. If these are small on your screen, blow them up just a litle bit. You probably can make out that all I'm doing is setting the game up for the tokens, and then extra money. We said, didn't we, that the Skymerians start with. And then we go to the War Cartel. They start with Sakai, 1 less habitat and guards. So no habitat and Sakai Mines. And are we there yet? We're almost there. And the Windfall, the Wormhole, excuse me, is guard company, tin heads, and money. Gave it its extra money. Gave it its guard unit. And gave it its tin head. Alright, 8 minutes in. 8 minutes to set this game up. Wow, it better be worth it. Let's put that over there. Alright, now, the first thing we do is we roll a high die to see which of these 2 guys are going to be my Star Wards. So is it going to be player 1, which I'm favoring because I'm trying to play it to the best of my ability, and player 3, which I'm also trying to play with the best of my ability, but I would prefer to be victorious by playing the Sheik Cartel well, or, as I said, you can swap these out later if you start to get some really bad results from either the deck or your dice, and you can swap these with an NPC. And then whatever resources you had would also swap, or the Crime Lord. So let me roll a d6 here. Do I have dice? I'm playing with such a small board here that I don't think my dice are showing up very well. Here it is. Okay, so the Sheik Cartel starts with a 6. 6 tie. I got to break that tie. How about a 5? How about a 5? How about a 6? Gosh, great rolls. And a 1. So player 1, this guy is called the Star Ward. Can we get any smaller on this screen? How about if we go to this level? That's probably okay. Star Ward, as opposed to Star Wars. Yay, Star Ward. Okay, so he's the Star Ward. The Star Ward determines who moves when, and that's, I found, a very, very important thing. Now, after you would normally, before you even pick your stuff, you would determine who's the Star Ward, and you would see that he doesn't have more habitats than this guy. The She Cartel has the same amount of habitats as the Crime Lords, so the Crime Lords cannot steal the role of Star Ward. And yet, if I had, if the second player had picked the SNR group with one habitat, they would be starting as the Star Ward. Maybe realistically they would have. And we go down to this table right here. This is sort of like the game board of the whole thing. It has a Monopoly feel to it. Not really. But we start here. Game starts here. I got this little marker here for my economy. And I'm going to decide who's going to roll first. And as Star Ward, I'm going to decide the Crime Lords roll first. So here comes a die roll for the Crime Lords, and they get a 3. So I move it 1, 2, 3. And they immediately lose a mine. And do they have a mine? You can never lose what you don't have, and they don't have a mine, so that doesn't matter. And there's no dollar on here, and there's no so there's no benefit of that. And then I roll for the She Cartel, and they start off right where it is, and they go 1, 2, 3. And they also then are raising the cost of habitats. New habitats now cost 4, not 2. That tends to, at this point, hurt us both, because neither one of us have habitats. But there's a dollar here, so I picked up an extra trillion as well from the economy windfall. And then after we do this, we have to decide whether or not we're attacked by the Carfu Horde. Now the danger level is the blue number here, and that's a 2. But there's also a rule of essentially that we're peons. So because I'm a pacifier with the She Cartel, I can have 9 tokens before they'll attack me. And the Crime Lords, they can have 6 tokens before they get attacked. So 9 tokens with pacifier and 6 tokens without pacifier. And so they currently have 2 tokens. You don't count the money as tokens. You count just the resource commodities of tin heads, mines, habitats, and guard units. So when I get up to 9 with the She Cartel, then I have to worry about losing a minimum amount of my resources being attacked by the Carfu Horde. And we move into phase B. Now I can record that right here, but you know, it'd probably just be extraneous. I will probably record how many cards I flip, because as an old man I tend to forget that. But you can swap your cartel only at the beginning of the turn. So we've started to play now. That was phase A. Phase A is just basically the board and adjusting the resources. If there was more players in the game, they would continue to move around. And again, the Star Ward determines what order they're moved in. The next thing we do is we go to payments. Now, do I have any mines? No. Do I have any habitats? No. Does my opponent have any mines and habitats? No. So there's really no money being made in the game right now, which is sort of a sin. And we move then to buying. Now, if I want to buy a mine, which I definitely want to do, it costs me 1. And if he wants to buy a mine, it costs him 1. How if I take a buck? And the Star Ward, again, would determine, I'll say, for instance, the Crime Lord goes first, or I would say I would go first as a Star Ward. This can become more important later in the game when you see where people are trying to move their resources into. And we will each pay a trillion, and we'll each end up with a mine. Ooh, that one sort of got distorted, didn't it? Let's get one clean. Good. And can I have a second one clean? Okay, wonderful. And I'm going to deposit these mines in each of these positions. Now, sets are very important. When you have 1 of each, remember I mentioned the Carfu Horde coming to destroy my tokens? If I had a habitat here, I would have a set of each. And a set of each doesn't count toward the numbers of 10 I get attacked by the Carfu Horde, 7 I get attacked by the Carfu Horde. But right now I'm only still 2 and 3, so no, I don't need to worry about that. And finally we get to the fourth is raiding. So he could raid me. I can't raid him because I don't have a guard unit. If I bought a guard unit for 2, then I could also raid. Would he want to raid at this point? Well, he would roll a die 6 and add 1 for his guard unit. I would roll a die 6 and add 1 for a tin head on defense. Tin heads do not go on the attack, they're only on the defense. And that would have 2 effects in the game. If he's higher than me, he's going to inflict damage based on Eco-Chem and Indigent Caucus. And if I go through the rules really, pan, I can read that an Eco-Chem will force by cower the enemy to remove a mine. So if he were to attack me and beat me, if his die 6 is greater than my die 6, since we both have a +1 for a guard, a +1 for a mine. If he were to roll and beat me in the die roll, I would lose my mine. And the other thing, Indigent Caucus would force by cower the enemy to swap 1 habitat from loser to winner. Since I don't have any habitats, he doesn't really gain by that. Now, if I were to win, it's the Eco-Chem. Again, Eco-Chem does what? It would destroy a mine. He does have a mine. He has something to lose. And the second one, Pacifier. Pacifier will force by cower the enemy to remove his guard company. Now, the loser will automatically lose a guard company. I'm going to double check that to make sure. Select a victim, roll a d6, add guard companies on the attack, guard companies and tin heads on the defense. The lower is coward and loses. In addition to the mandatory in addition to the mandatory, the loser guard loss. A loser loses a guard unit. In addition to the mandatory, the loser loses a guard unit. And the loser suffers the harms as listed below. Alright, and but let's just say he's not going to attack me. We could have fun and try that, but nah. Okay, now we go into this phase. Now, I am the Star Ward, and I can flip up to 7 cards. I have to flip a minimum of 2. So I flip the first one. It's Pacifier. It adds $1 trillion to anyone that's a pacifier. So we have a pacifier here. He gets $1 trillion. We got a pacifier right here. The Journeyman gets $1 trillion. And no pacifier here, no pacifier here. S&R group, they get $1 trillion. And then up here, ooh, look at that. My Chic Cartel got $1 million. Now, do I want to flip a lot of another card? Early in the game, you probably want to flip a lot of cards just to get an idea of what's running. And if you have a great memory, you can remember that the pacifier has already gained $1 trillion. So somewhere in this deck, it's going to lose it back again. Indigent Caucus adds $1 trillion. Gosh, who shuffled this? Indigent Caucus, that would be my guy over here. He gets 1. And who else? And you see how I'm adding these as well to... having a great deal of money is nice, but if you get too much money, you start to become the richest person that everyone hates in the game, and that's certainly not a good place to be, because then you start losing money as well. And if you get attacked by the Carfu Horde, you have to pay either half the cost to replace the units back. If you get raided, I think you can also pay to replace the things immediately. Otherwise, you can only buy 1 new token per turn. Let's flip a few cards more just to see what's happening here in the game. Now that's 3. Let me mark that so I don't. And Eco-Chem loses $1 trillion. I'm Eco-Chem, I would lose $1 trillion. A lot of these, and so is my opponent. Easy come, easy go. But we would also go down here. There's going to be 2 more Eco-Chems with the Wormhole Cartel and the G-Sol. So that's $4 trillion that just turned to vapor. And trigger victory. Okay, that's a good one to have early. So if somebody gets 6 tin heads sometime, there'll be victory. And that's going to steer the game a little bit as people try to get a tin heads. Now, I've already have 1 tin head and my opponent doesn't. Oh, he does. So we're equal now. So if he gets 5 more, if I get 5 more. Now, if I were to just push and push and push and try to get tin heads, adding 5 more of this, I would still be okay. The Carfu Horde wouldn't come and take him away. But there's a good chance then that he could end up attacking me. And even if he attacks me and I and I win, tin heads on defense, when they get that taste of fighting, they can tend to go freebooter on you, and you can end up costing a little bit to keep them or lose them altogether. Well, that's 20 minutes, and I don't want to spend too long with this, but I'm going to play it out. Maybe I'll show you a couple of turns just randomly as we go along. More later.